It's hard to believe, but December is already over, and it's past time to get the January budget set up. I'll walk you through how I'm doing mine coming up next. Welcome back to Ready Budget Go. My name is Drew, and on this channel we talk about cash budgeting, saving money, and achieving our financial goals. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please consider subscribing, hit the like button, and leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. Today, I am setting up my January 2025 budget. This is something that I usually like to have done around the middle of the prior month, but December is crazy as it is, and I just ran out of time to do it this year. So here it is, January 1st, and I am just now filling in my budget. I start by printing out all of the different trackers that I use and writing in the month and the year for each of those. I print these out every single month, and then I fill them in as the month goes along. So the last one here is the month-end review. This will be for the wrap-up of the month. I will film the December month-end review probably this weekend after I have done the closeout for December. I'm still in my last week of cash spending for December. So now that I've got all of those started, I'm going to set them aside, and I'm going into my budget binder, and I'm going to the monthly subscriptions and recurring bills section, because I need to update this recurring bill tracker that I use to monitor my utilities for the month. This is water, sewer, garbage, natural gas, shared electric in my apartment building, all of those that I get billed for by the community. So I'm writing in the amount this month and the difference compared to the previous month's assessment. This is a highly variable bill. It's been as low as, I think, about 180, 190 was the lowest that I saw, and the largest has been 230 or more. So that's a swing of $40. It depends on usage. It also depends on how many days are in the billing cycle and when the meters are read and all of that. So now I'm moving into the monthly subscription tracker, and I did cancel 2 subscriptions. I canceled my subscription to Max, and I canceled my subscription to Log and Jotter. With Max, the show that I normally watch from there is on hiatus, and with Log and Jotter, I have plenty of the little notebooks built up in my stockpiles, so I don't need any more of those. Now I'm looking at my yearly subscription tracker, and these are expenses that come out once per year. So every month I look at this to make sure that if there is a bill that comes out once a year in the month that I'm budgeting for, that I account for it. This month, in January, it's going to be my Amazon Prime subscription. I pay that annually to save a little bit of money on the cost, and so I need to make sure that I factor that into my January budget. So now I'm going to flip back to the start of the binder, and I'm going to bring up the December budget, because my January budget is going to be based on December, just like every month is based on the one before. So I'm just sticking that note here in the bills section, and I'll come back to it when it's time to do that. But the first thing I'm going to fill in is the income section. So I've got my 2 paychecks, and I've got my cell phone reimbursement from my company. I get paid twice a month, every month. It's not bi-weekly, it is semi-monthly, so I get paid on the 15th and on the last business day of the month. So my checks are pretty much always the same. They do fluctuate a little bit, but usually it's a matter of pennies. And then the cell phone reimbursement is usually paid the last Friday of the month, and that is always $100. So I'm putting in $3,000 even though my checks are higher than this, and I resolved that I was going to track these more closely in 2025, but I just don't know what those are going to be because insurance changes in January. So for now, I'm just going to do it like I did before. I'm also expecting a bonus in January, but I don't know if it's going to hit on the first check or the second check, and I have no idea how much it's going to be. I know it's going to be a significant amount of money, more than likely more than one of my paychecks, if I've done my math right, one of my regular paychecks. But Just because I don't know exactly when it's coming or how much it's going to be, I'm not going to plan for it, because I don't want to put that into my cash flow and then have it come up short or be delayed or something else befall me or the company or what have you that causes that to get delayed. So I'm going to leave it blank. I'm not going to plan for it. When it does come in, I will probably push it into February as far as how I'm going to allocate the money. So now I'm filling in the bills section, and this time, as opposed to previous months, I'm rounding to the nearest whole dollar. I'm rounding up to the nearest whole dollar. So I've got a lot of expenses that come out on the 1st. This is the rent, water, sewer, garbage. I re-up on my transit pass, and I also pay renter's insurance on the 1st. Everything else, I also have a transfer to my emergency fund. That's automatic, happens every paycheck. So that will, I put it in as the 1st, but it'll probably initiate tomorrow, draft on my bank tomorrow because of the holiday. So I'm filling in all of the other regular monthly expenses. I'm taking out the ones that I've canceled. So I am not factoring in the Max subscription. I'm also not factoring in Log and Jotter, and I'm not factoring in a charity contribution this month either. And the reason that I'm not is because, and I think I've covered this in a previous video, one of my credit cards now offers a 100% match with the rewards if you send those to a charity. So instead of me taking the rewards out of my credit card and then sending them to the charity, I'm just going to do it direct and they'll match it. So I'm essentially doubling my charitable contributions with no extra effort from me and no impact to cash flow. So it's fantastic news all the way around. So as such, I did call the charity last week and cancel it before the December payment came out, and I won't have that contribution in January because it will come directly from credit card rewards, and I'll never see that money. It'll just go straight to the charity and start doing the good work that it's intended to do. So I'm filling in now prescriptions and Astound Broadband, which is my internet bill. And then I'm going to fill in on the 31st the one-time events. So I've got the Amazon Prime subscription, and I will round that up. And I also have a doctor's appointment coming up in January, and I will have labs done for that. So I'm going to factor that in as well. I have a high deductible health plan, meaning that I get to pay for all of my care out of pocket. But I get the health savings account, which is triple tax advantaged. It's fantastic. If you have that option available to you, I strongly recommend it. So I factored that cost in here as well. Now, I won't take that money from my health savings account. I will take it out of cash flow because I want that health savings account to grow as much as it can so that I can use it later in life to pay Medicare premiums or other health expenses in my old age. So now what I'm doing is I am totaling up all of the expenses in the bills column. And again, I'm not using cents here. I just rounded everything up. That means there will be some few dollars that will just go into my checking account buffer, and I'm not terribly worried about that. The important thing here is to make sure that I have enough income to cover the expenses and that I control the expenses as best I can. So I've totaled that, and I'm also going to total up the known income amounts here, which is just the 2 paychecks and the cell phone reimbursement. But I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to move over here into the wallet section, and I'm going to fill in $250 a week for every Friday in January, because that is the day that I start my week. It's just the one that I picked. A little unfair that we have 5 Fridays in January. We had 5 Fridays in November, and that month had only 30 days in it, and here we go again. So those 5 Friday months really put a crimp on cash flow because it's an extra week worth of groceries and spending that I have to take out. I've also upped the allocation from $200 to $250 just because I was going over most weeks in November and December. But now I've upped that, so hopefully I'm not over like I was before. So there I totaled up the income. Now I'm kind of subtracting the bills and I'm subtracting the wallet amount to see what is left over for stockpiles and savings and extra debt. So stockpiles or sinking funds, I am going to allocate this, I'm going to allocate $400 this month toward savings challenges for various long-term goals. So I'm doing $100 a week based on the Monday. So I'm starting on the 6th, then the 13th, and then the 20th, and then the 27th. So that'll be $400 for the month. I will start putting those videos out on either Mondays or Tuesdays. Most likely it'll be an evening upload, but we'll see how that works. I am on the West Coast, so if I upload something at 7 o'clock in the evening my time, it's 10 o'clock in the East and people are starting to go to bed. So I really try to time things that work well for most folks in most time zones. Savings and extra debt, here I'm allocating $1,000 from my second paycheck of the month just to go toward, this is essentially debt. This is a credit card balance from the business that I need to pay on. Based on how Ready Budget Go is structured, any debt that the company takes on is my personal responsibility. And it has incurred some expenses in December that need to be repaid in January, so I'm going to take it out from here, which means that that money will not be going to retirement or any of the other goals that I normally would allocate it to, because it needs to pay off the business credit card, which now has a balance on it. So I'm just filling in these details here, the totals that are known, and then I am going to check the math one more time to figure out the remainder. It's going to be $11, and that's tighter, a lot tighter than I normally go for, but I also know that I've got this bonus coming in, and I'm pretty sure it will hit in January, just not sure when, just not how much. So I feel okay with it being that tight just for this month. So now I'm going to set that aside, and I will bring in the cash allocation worksheet. And this is where I allocate all of the money that is going into my wallet and into stockpiles or sinking funds. Now, for me, every week when I take $250, 150 of that I leave in the bank, and I generally spend that on groceries, either at the supermarket or through grocery delivery. And I tend to put that on a credit card and then pay the credit card out of the bank account. But then I take $100 out in cash. And I use cash when it is more beneficial for me to do so than to use a credit card. This is generally at quick serve restaurants and other places where if you use a credit card, it's a mom and pop operation and then they have to pay, a fee on top of that. And I would just rather use cash in those instances. So $250 a week, $150 in the bank for groceries, $100 out of the bank every week in cash. It's rare for me to spend the entire cash allocation. I usually have at least some money left over, so I probably could leave more of that in the bank and go to like $200 in the bank and $50 in cash. But if I take too much out of the bank, or if I don't spend my entire cash allocation, then I can just roll part of that over into the next week and take less cash out of the bank. Or in some cases, no cash out of the bank at all. So fewer trips to the ATM. Whereas if I took only $50 out, there would be some weeks that I would have to make a second trip to the ATM. And even if I didn't have to make a second trip within the week, I'd probably be going to the cash machine every single week. And that's a bit much. So just filling this in here, I'm in the last entries. Again, we have 5 Fridays in January, which really kind of stinks, but what are you going to do? And then in here, I'm just writing in $100 for savings challenges on every Monday of the month. And I do this worksheet just to show that the money that I'm taking out for wallet and stockpiles has a purpose, because I don't leave room for that in the monthly budget. There may be times when I need to take out several $100s to go to various stockpiles, but I don't want to necessarily list all of those in the monthly budget. I just want to say, okay, I'm taking money out of the bank for stockpiles, and I can refer to this other sheet to see exactly where I've allocated that to go. So now the cash allocation is done. So I'm going to set those aside. and I will start popping them into the binder along with all of the other worksheets. So there's 5 that I print out every single month. The monthly budget overview is the first one. That is kind of the master plan for how the money's going to flow that month. But the first one I'm going to put in is actually the last one. This is the month-end review. This is the one that I will be filling out shortly for December once the final numbers come in. Because the last Friday in December was the 27th, I am still spending on that money through the 2nd. So once we get through the 2nd, I will fill out the month-end tracker and close the month with the wallet spend, all the bills, and do the full reconciliation. And that video should also be up this weekend. We've got a monthly expense tracker that keeps track of all of my non-cash, non-bill expenses. Here's the cash flow tracker. This is basically like a check register. This is monitoring inflows and outflows from my checking account. Everything that transacts through there, I want to make sure that I have a record of so that I'm keeping on top of what's going on with my bank account, just because there's so much cash in motion going between various accounts at various financial institutions. I did lose track of it once before and managed to catch it because I do the old-fashioned essentially check register steps with that worksheet. So now I've got the monthly budget overview worksheet in there and we're all set up to go. And I will be back shortly to wrap everything up. So that's the January budget all set up, or at least as set up as I can make it. With not knowing when that bonus is going to hit or how much it's going to be, I didn't really feel comfortable putting it in at this point, like I said earlier. But I know that when it does come in, I will probably just wait to allocate it until the February budget, and I'll just have a bigger remainder here. Hopefully, if no more disasters befall me. I'm really hoping for a much better 2025 than the last half of 2024 has been. Not just for me, but really for everyone. I know a lot of people had a really rough time in 2024 throughout the year, but I'm optimistic that 2025 will be a better year for all of us. I want to thank you for spending some time with me today, and especially for watching all the way to the end. If you like this video, please hit the like button, consider subscribing if you're new, and share with your friends. I'd also love it if you'd leave me a comment down below. If you're interested in any of these trackers or planners or any of the other Ready Budget Go savings challenges or placeholders or any of the other products that I have available, a link to my Etsy shop is down in the description box below. Until I see you again next time, take care.